beginning, we wanted to find a place to house families that have kids that were going through treatment for cancer because we saw the need at Mass General when families were coming in from out of town and they had no place to stay and couldn't afford to stay anyplace. So we thought about housing first. So we opened our first apartment in 2006 right here in the West End. It was great, and then we opened up a couple more and moved them closer together. And it was so important for them they saw each other and they just got wide-eyed and were so excited to see somebody else in their situation that they could talk to. We have just opened up a Christopher's Haven in Atlanta. The Emory Proton Center opened about 1.5 years ago. When I wrote to them and asked them if they had this need, the Dr. Eaton there had actually trained at Mass General, and when she got the letter, she just jumped up and said Christopher's Haven, because she knew what it was and she knew how important it was to the families here. So the idea of having something like that at their brand new Proton Center was pretty exciting.
What is so incredible about having experienced proton radiation with my son and staying at Christopher's Haven is that I can see and anticipate maybe what a family needs. And I definitely know that a family needs to feel welcomed and to feel supported. And with those two things, you can really watch a family touch down and find that home away from home that they're so desperately looking for.
Imagine as a parent, this is your child and you have other children that you now have to think about and schools and uprooting your life. It's an impossible task to then still carry on and be a mother, a spouse, or a dad and a partner. Whatever your situation, you can't play all those roles at the same time. And so at Christopher's Haven, we can take care of the basic needs. And you can come and all you have to do is focus on being a patient and coming through as strong as you can. And you're going to be surrounded by people going through the same thing.
The comfort of being close to their hospital. You know, they're coming back and forth every day and maybe their child is unwell and they don't want to get in a car. And you're 2 minutes from the door of our hospital. And if they need to go to an emergency room in the middle of the night, they don't have to call an ambulance. They just push a wheelchair across the street, or, you know, they don't have to get in a car. So that's a huge relief. And then I think after they've been here, the thing I hear most is about that connection with other families and how therapeutic it is to be with other parents who have kids with cancer, for the kids with cancer to be with other kids with cancer, and for the siblings and just, you know, even like I said, sometimes grandparents, other family members. It's a community of therapy for the whole family.
What did it feel like when you first came into Christopher's Haven?
Yeah, so I was nervous and shy and I couldn't really talk. Yeah, so I wasn't very social, but I felt more like home as time passed by.
You and your brother are violinists. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you came here, you both brought your violin.
Yeah.
And what did you do?
Well, we were allowed to practice here.
What do you mean allowed?
Well, we could practice, even though, well, in hotels and other places like that, you can't because it would disturb other people, but here you could.
Well, that day Leon went to have the MRI, and I think after a while he was in the MRI. They changed MRI. They changed machine because I think they wanted a machine that was a bit more precise. So, but I didn't know that at the time. So it took longer and had to wait and wait and wait. And finally we saw the radiologist, and I was alone with her, I think, and she told me that no, they found a tumor in his brain that was the size of a clementine. And at the time I was just it was just too much. I just passed out.
The next day we went to meet the surgeon, and then it was just about, you know, getting prepared. And at the time we didn't know whether it was malignant or not, so we were still kind of thinking, you know, maybe he'll just have the surgery and, you know, that'll be the end of it. So there was a lot of, you know, confusion about what was going to happen.
Then we met with the neurosurgeon who was going to do the surgery, and yeah, he explained everything. We saw images.
I couldn't process what I was hearing, and you know, when the doctor was saying stuff, you know, they're saying a lot of stuff you don't really want to believe, and he kept saying, "It's gonna be okay, Mom. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna have the surgery. They're gonna take it out. It's gonna be okay." He was 10. At the moment, I felt like I was not gonna be able to deal with it. Like in that moment, it was like, I can't do it. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just want to disappear. Like I don't know what to do. The first time I heard about Christopher's Haven was when we came here. Before Leon was going to treatment, we were coming just for a few days to, you know, he had another MRI, I think, and people were asking us where we were going to stay. We hadn't gotten a lot of information back home, and we were staying in a hotel, and I believe it was probably Dr. McDonald, I guess, who had said, "Are you going to be staying at Christopher's Haven?" And I said, "What's Christopher's Haven?" And then she told me about it. And we went back to the hotel, and I went to the website, and I remember reading the website and saying to Jenny, "We have to go to this place, you know, see, you have to make it happen." So he called Katie, and Katie said, "Yes."
What were some highlights that happened that involved your violin?
I was practicing Sonata No. 9 by Corelli, and that was also the piece that I played on stage at the BSO.
Whoa, that's big time. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it felt great. It had a great acoustic, and we were listening to pieces the orchestra was playing. And then after that, the concertmaster, I think, invited me to play on stage. And then after that, we went backstage and played some duets.
Christopher's Haven is really a second home, and we were so welcome, and Katie is so wonderful, and everybody, the volunteers are really taking care of us, and there's activities and always something arranged so that we feel busy and know our mind is taken off that treatment, and yeah, it's the best decision is to stay here during treatment.
So Kaden, can you tell me or walk me through what happened when you were first diagnosed?
So when we found out that I had cancer, we were in a room with a doctor, and they looked at my MRIs, and we saw dum-dum in my head. And then they explained to me that it was cancer, and I was very emotional. I was crying. I was very angry. It was a hard time for me.
So I remember reaching out to Katie at the planning stages of coming to Boston to Christopher Haven. And from the first text message, Katie made it such a beautiful experience. Answering any questions, didn't matter what time it was, and just giving the information that we needed to make everything possible.
Matt had did a lot of research on Christopher's Haven, and I mean, we didn't know it was an apartment, though. Like, we thought it was gonna be like a hotel.
We thought it was gonna be like our Toronto room.
Our tiny Toronto room, yes.
The minute that we opened that door and just seeing the layout, and it felt like we were a home away from home. It took a lot of the planning and a lot of the hesitation and the stress off of us as a family coming up to make it easier to take care of our son while we were here.
So actually coming here to an apartment and actually feeling like it was a whole other home made the process actually really fun.
Christopher Haven and Katie and everybody who is part of the community here made it such an easy transition from Canada to the United States. Everything from showing up, walking into a fully furnished apartment. We did not know what we were to expect walking in.
It's been so hard, and I hate to say it, a lot of it was negative. like it was negative. It was him staying in the hospital and watching him be sick and away from everyone and secluded, and then coming here, it felt like coming to a whole other family. So you're coming to family. You leave yours behind, but you have some here. And even Katie, I'll take you with me forever. So they're gonna be okay. And this is the best place to be okay.
What would you tell kids that also just got diagnosed?
Stay strong and you'll get through this.
So my name is Amanda. This is Carter, and he is receiving treatment, proton therapy at Mass General, and he has a total of 6 weeks of treatment here in Boston. So we heard about Christopher's Haven through our hospital in Connecticut, CCMC. They recommended this location as a possibility that we would be eligible for. We were receiving treatment with Carter for 6 weeks, so it was a great location right across from the hospital, very convenient option for an apartment to stay long term. For the first few weeks, I moved in, my husband moved us in, and then it was just Carter and I, and it was kind of lonely. You know, I'm a big walker, so I've been up and down the Charles River, you know, I don't know how many steps. But we've been out, tried to be outside as much, but then on the rainy days and the windy days, you know, being inside was just kind of lonely. So once we had a chance, we met some, in the coming weeks as we were here, we had met some of the other moms who are also staying here alone with their children. And we're all going through the same thing. I hope that all hospitals or all agencies are able to share this with families. I would say that it's such a convenient location, number one. I mean, we, you know, every day our routine looks like walking across the street. I mean, it's no driving, no city driving, no traffic, not driving here every morning for treatment. And it makes what you're going through a lot less, you know, of a struggle. Let's see, how about community and friends/family? Nice. Out with a bang!
And at the very end is the loft. And so it's a big space. It's a 2-bedroom apartment converted into this community space and our offices. And there's lots of toys and scooters and a huge big blue couch, TVs, electronics, anything that you could want, or that a kid could want maybe, is in this room just waiting.
So the loft is, we actually call it the playroom mostly. Because that's just another location for us to regroup and kind of have new toys to play with and kind of have a different scenery. But it definitely means an extended family down the hall and just another location for activities and people from the outside coming in to see us, and it's just good to have other people to meet.
The first time I came into the loft, it was big and wonderful. I walked in and I just saw so many nice, cool things just around. And I was just having lots of fun. There was food, and it was just a really good experience coming in here for the first time. And now that time has passed, it's been even better.
There has been a shift. Mass General is so specialized and does such a great job that we get some of the tougher cases here because it's a great place to get this treatment. So the shift that I have seen is in the difficulties for some of the families. They've got a little tougher, which is of course a bigger reason to need more support.
Having housing, having care during cancer therapy for these families provides a definitive, tangible difference, and we know we make a difference in these patients' lives when we provide this type of service. And that's a beautiful thing about Christopher's Haven, is providing that definitive, direct, care for patients that allows them to be comfortable and to be cared for during their treatment.
there's so many great organizations, and you see commercials on TV, and it's your local charity. I mean, there's so many organizations you could contribute to. And so why Christopher's Haven, I would say we're the most unique model in that families can come and they have their own apartment and they are around other families going through the same thing. So you really are supporting the whole community. And our donations are so streamlined, they go straight to the organization, really going straight to these apartments.
We will always say that the best way to support Christopher's Haven is to donate monetarily to support us in that way, which allows us to create programs and activities for our families and to also give them a roof over their heads.
Imagine we have 10 apartments in the West End neighborhood of Boston. So initially, I have to say immediately financial support, because we have to keep the doors open and rent's expensive, and we run a really lean place here. But the apartments are expensive and the utilities and all that. So the most important thing is for us to keep our doors open. So financial support is really huge. The other types of support are, family dinners and helping out different families with things, but mostly if you were to ask a family, what would be the most important thing for Christopher's Haven, and it would be that we had a place to stay and the doors were open and we could still get together. So that's our biggest need.
Being one of the families that is benefiting from these donations has been just a huge blessing for our family. Even just furniture or tickets to go do something in Boston, or toys or books or movies has really just made your experience be more like home and not so of a medical journey.